was a glorious afternoon on the Granfield branch. Ivy, Samson and Bluebell were awaiting orders from the manager for the afternoon's workings. "I do hope there's some shunting involved at the junction," said Bluebell. "I do enjoy it." "Well, I'm glad you enjoy it," complained Samson. "If I find myself shunting again, I am going to complain to the manager." "What do you expect him to do about it?" "There's nothing wrong with shunting, Samson," called Ben from the woodyard. "I enjoy it." "You enjoy shunting? What's fun about it?" he asked. "Well, for a start," began Bluebell, "you never know what you're going to be pulling. Some days you might be pulling bananas. The next day you might be pulling somebody's car. Ivy, it's very, very rude to interrupt. Would you please stop blowing off?" "Oh, of course, yes. No, I can sort it out myself. It's not a thing that just randomly happens. You know, I can... Yes, of course I can just stop it." "Well, how would I know? I'm just a diesel electric. I don't know these things." "Well, you know, you have been living with us for the past 4 years. I'm sure you would have realised that by now." Just then, the manager arrived with Bluebell's driver and Ivy's fireman. "Now, Ivy, I would like you, please, to take the first train down to the junction. After you arrive, Bluebell will roll down shortly afterwards and wait in one of the stations for you to come back the other way." "Please, sir," began Bluebell. "Am I shunting at the junction again?" she asked, hopefully. "I'm sorry, Bluebell, but there simply aren't enough trucks around for you to shunt." "Right," said Bluebell, sounding confused. "Those wagons over there, Bluebell, as I'm sure you know, because I have told you, every time you try to shunt them, they are not for shunting. They are for our demonstration goods trains on open days," explained Ivy. "Samson and I often double-head them, if you remember." Bluebell thought hard for a second. "Yes, of course I remember that," she exclaimed. I must have forgotten somehow." "Right, no, then. I'll hop in cab and then we'll go to the station. See you later, manager." What did that have to do with the previous conversation about shunting? Exactly, sir. "Well, it's time to go, sir. Train's due out in a minute." "By gosh, you're right. You better hurry up. I shall see you later, Ivy." And with that, Ivy left for the station. She was looking forward to a much-earned run. She'd been locked in the shed for a while the railway was going through some repairs. She rolled very carefully up to the coaches in the platform. The passengers had already begun to get in. She buffered up and was soon coupled to her train. The last few passengers got in and out of the coaches in time. Ivy was looking forward to her run down to the junction. "I really do hope we don't come across any mainline engines. They really do my head in." "I don't think we're going to meet too many. I don't think there are any mainline trains today. Ain't they got engineering works down at Newport or something?" "How would I know?" asked Ivy as she departed the platform. She carefully rounded the point work at the station throat and headed out onto the branch line. Samson looked across from the yard in jealousy. He hadn't had a run for a very long time. His axles were beginning to hurt from staying still for so long. "Ah, don't worry," said his driver. "You'll have a run sooner or later, I promise you." Soon, Ivy was well underway with her first passenger train. She was enjoying herself immensely. "I don't think we're stopping at any of the intermediate stations, are we?" she asked the guard. "No, we're not. All the way through to the junction today. A nice long run to stretch your wheels." "Brilliant!" There were some people waving at Ivy on the bridge. She whistled as she came past, and they carried on waving until she was long out of sight. Ivy's fireman was eagerly looking back along the track in front of them, keeping an eye on the road ahead, making sure there was no danger, checking to see if anybody was in need of help as they passed. They soon reached the cutting. This was Ivy's least favourite place on the entire railway. She never thought the rocks looked particularly stable to her. Indeed, they creaked and wobbled slightly as she came past from the vibrations from the tracks. Some of the local farmhands, were waving by the trackside by the side of the field as Ivy came past. She whistled to them, happily, as she carried on her journey. Despite there wasn't much to look at out of the train windows, the passengers enjoyed the ride all the same. The children were playing Spot the Bird, and the adults were playing Spot the Bunny. After a brief stop at the signal outside the station, Ivy arrived at the junction, bang on time. She was very pleased with herself. Her first outing in a good few months, and she was on time. She couldn't be happier. She rolled into the station with her driver opening the regulator just to keep her rolling a little bit until they reached the right place to stop. Ivy was very happy. "I didn't think I was going to make it here today." "Why is that?" asked her driver. "Well, because I've been sat in the shed so long, my crank pins were aching." "I was worried my crank pin might snap," she said. "Why would it do that?" "Well, as I said, it was aching. I was worried it might break, but it didn't, so I'm very happy." Ivy was most impressed with herself. She had felt ill a few days prior to this event, but she got her passengers back to the junction in no time at all. Although she had had a fairly easy day, she was looking forward to a nice rest when she got back to Granfield. It was very late by the time Ivy arrived home that evening. The sun had already started to go to bed when she arrived. She took on coal and water and slowly backed into the shed to join the others. As she rolled in, she saw that Bluebell had already shunted Samson into the shed. "You had a good day?" they called as she backed into the shed. "It's not been too bad, thank you." Yeah. She yawned. "Did all the passengers behave themselves today? No accidents or anything?" "No, they were all good as gold, as they always have been." "I didn't see you doing your shunting, Bluebell. Did you manage to get down there?" "No," she sniffed unhappily. "Why ever not? Is everything alright?" "Oh yeah, no, everything's fine with me. It's just that Samson here, when we lit his fire and tried to move him into the shed, suddenly decided he was going to blow a cylinder head. So that was fun," she said angrily. "I said it before, and I'm going to say it one more time, okay? That was not my fault, okay? Manager knows that I'm falling to pieces gradually. He can't afford my repairs, Ivy, and he hasn't got any spares at all, so once I have cooled down in the shed, that's me done. Completely done." "Don't be absurd. I'm sure Manager's got some repairs for you somewhere. He must have. If he can afford to fuel me and get me going, I'm sure he can get you going." "Afraid not, Ivy," said Bluebell sadly. "He showed us his accounts today. He's barely got enough money to keep you running, let alone Samson and me as well." "So you're both going to be mothballed?" asked Ivy, sounding confused. "It sure seems that way," said Samson, looking down at his buffers sadly. The engines didn't know what to do. Samson was still cooling down, and the last of his steam and the last of his smoke was leaving him. He sighed. What's going to happen? They wondered.